Yeah, I think Creighton has a chance. They've had some slip ups here. They're not very deep, but I think in the tournament that's not like necessarily a terrible thing. They need Mason Miller played really well at the four. He gave them great minutes.
Yeah.
And if that happens, man. Now they're only playing really six. You could argue seven. Trout got a little bit of time for Creighton. But, between Shireman, who is a beast,
Yeah.
he is good. And he didn't even shoot it well, but he still
He
played
does
really well.
everything. He does
He
everything.
does. He does. And the way he runs off screens, I really like watching him play. Stephen Ashworth seems like he's coming on. And he did a pretty good job on Quincy Oliveri, who's been one of the better
Yep.
transfers in college hoops this year. Kalkbrenner had a contest at the rim that is like, if you're defining verticality and you're talking about what would be the gold standard of how to teach this with his frame and length, it was amazing. Desmond Claude went up for this layup. And Desmond Claude's got some real athleticism. He's got a body. And Kalkbrenner was like purely vertical, hands almost going backwards, which is like crazy. And the
That's
contest,
what he does. But
I
that's what
interviewed
he
him
does all the
after the
time.
game, and I said to him, like, Coach, and what a nerd thing to say, like, wow, that verticality was amazing. And he was like, dude, this is what he does. And like you said, this is him. Like he is doing that. But yeah, I really like their team. I think they could make a run. I mean, they were knocking on the door of the Final Four last year, and I
But are
think
you
that
worried? Okay, so here's my I'll push back
can
on that.
Ashworth be that fourth scorer,
Well, that's one
and
thing.
can Mason
That's
Miller
one
give
thing.
them things at the four?
He's small. Ashworth is tiny.
Yeah.
And defensively, and it ties back into me on their defense. Now I know
And
they
they were
play
much
well.
better defensively, and Xavier they'll play fast. Like they'll do that. Trey Alexander, we haven't mentioned him. He's a really good player.
Yep.
They've got to be better defensively than they have been the last four games coming into Xavier, where it was like all of a sudden they're scoring 95 and losing. Like the Providence game was pretty high level overtime, so the numbers get inflated a little bit. Butler at home, that was in regulation, I think, where it was like 99, 98. That's a concern. And you're right, a small point guard when you're dealing with size can be concerning. They maybe can get creative with Trey Alexander, who is 6'4", but then you're also giving up some size at other positions. So if Stephen Ashworth's guarding the two or the three, but Ashworth really he's pesky. He'll chase you off screens. He gets under you, but yeah, at 6'1", that could be a question. Defense has to be better. Mason Miller has to play well, but I like Creighton, and they are. I'll never ever complain about watching a Greg McDermott coach Creighton team because it will be fun. And it's amazing their fast break points. They're in like the 230s because they play fast. You'd think it'd be more.
Yep.
But they can shoot it. They don't hesitate to shoot it. And a sneaky thing about Creighton is that even though they shoot a ton of threes, they're highly efficient from two. And their 2-point defense has been good all year too. I mean, they're like third nationally in 2-point field goal percentage.
They really took advantage of Xavier's lack of size.
And Sean Miller has done an awesome job. You lose Fremantle, you lose Hunter to those injuries, and Jerome Hunter just tore his Achilles, which is just awful.
Yeah.
That's really sad. He's been dealing with other stuff.
And
but he's playing a bunch of freshmen. He's playing a bunch of transfers, and they have a chance to make the tournament. Now they've got to win some games here. And that was a missed opportunity for Xavier on their home court. Quad one game, and they could have. And Creighton really outplayed him for a lot of that second half. It was just Xavier did make a run to get back in it. But I like what Sean's done. He can really coach.
I kind of like Creighton too, like as much as most other teams in that second tier, because again, you've got experience, you've got enough shooters, you've got size on the wings, you've got multiple guys who can make plays and have the ball in their hands. The depth, the four-man Mason Miller is like the X factor for me. He's got to make open threes. And then I just feel like they put too much pressure on Kalkbrenner defensively.
They do. They funnel a lot to him, and he's got to stay out of foul trouble because you look at who's behind him. And it's like, it's just not the same.
Yep.